Good evening. Good evening.
Yeah, David sir, will start meeting.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah.
Yes,
Thank you.
sir. Okay.
VSR is joining. We will start.
Yeah, good evening. Welcome all the members, all the participants for this panel discussion. On behalf of Institution of Engineers India, Andhra Pradesh State Center, I am Professor Devakumar, Honorary Secretary. Welcome all of you for this program arranged on this auspicious day, World Telecommunication and Information Services Day. For this 2023 year, United Nations has given a theme for this auspicious day. So it is empowering the latest developed countries, least developed countries through information and communication technologies. As telecommunication and information technology is developing at a very higher pace, but still there are a lot of challenges with respect to the universal connectivity and digital transformation. Especially least developed countries are having a lot of challenges. And today we are fortunate to have with us our most renowned person, member of our Institution of Engineers, and who served as, who headed the Andhra Pradesh and Vijayawada local center in different capacities. So Sri D. Ramakrishna Garu, who is CEO and Managing Director for F-Tronics. So presently we are sitting in his office, and we are fortunate to have him. And along with Ramakrishna Garu, we are having two eminent personalities, Sunil David Garu and V. Srinivasa Rao Garu. So before handing over to the panel discussion, just I would like to give brief introduction about the panel members, and then we can start the session. So first, I'm fortunate that to inform all of you, we are being hosted today by F-Tronics Systems Private Limited. So we are sitting in the F-Tronics office at Vijayawada. So we are sitting with our Sri D. Ramakrishna Garu, who is the founder, CEO and Managing Director of this F-Tronics Systems Limited. Maybe many of members of Institution of Engineers may be knowing that. So he is the one of the prominent member of our institution, proud member of our institution, and he has served institution in various capacities. And so apart from that, he is having a rich R&D experience in the engineering field, and he has contributed a lot, especially in providing smart solutions in various fields, and predominantly in railway signaling. So all the equipment being designed and developed by F-Tronics, and he is the architect of all these systems. And also F-Tronics is involved in providing solutions for various smart cities and smart buildings and various industrial domains also. So to just quote a major achievement is, so Indian Railways today is one of having a lot of important and the largest, world's largest IoT network, which is developed by F-Tronics. And we are sitting with a person who is the backbone of all these things. And through these systems, almost they are having connectivity with 10 million things connected across the 9,000 cities or locations pertaining to Indian Railways, which is giving a phenomenal change in operation of Indian Railways. You might have seen it has achieved punctuality, and it has achieved safety, and it has eliminated accidents in railway stations. All this happened because of systems developed by F-Tronics. And Ramakrishna Garu is having great experience in providing more than 50 solutions in the domain of IoT and condition monitoring systems and various other latest technological equipment. And he is a member in many professional organizations, and he is a past chairman of CAA of AP State also, and he is a past chairman of IEA of our Institution of Engineers also. And he is having a lot of experience in Industry 4.0 solutions and digital manufacturing. And we are proud to have today with us Ramakrishna Garu with us. Thank you, sir, for accepting our invitation and hosting this session. And along with him, we are having Mr. Sunil David Garu. So Sunil David Garu is an independent digital technology consultant. He is having more than 29 years of experience in IT and telecom industry. And presently he is empaneled as an independent consultant with Frost and Civilian India. And he is also advisory member, and he provides advices on IoT and AI focused technology to Flamenco Technologies in various areas. And he's alumnus of Symbiosis Institute of Management Studies, and almost he has spent 20 years with AT&T India, and he was a regional director of IoT India and South Asia in AT&T, and he is a popular speaker in various areas to various industrial forums, especially on topics like IoT, artificial intelligence, 5G, digital transformation, metaverse, and cybersecurity, etc. And he's member in many organizations like CAI, NASSCAM, IET, and IAAC. And he is having phenomenal experience in especially in the areas of digital skilling and digital technology awareness and advocacy and startup corporate connect. We are very fortunate to have right person for this discussion. Welcome, Sunil David Garu, for accepting our short notice invitation and joining with us. Thank you for joining.
Thank you.
And thank you. And along with that, we are having another popular person, and many of you may be knowing him as a VSR in electronic fields. So he is V. Srinivasarao Garu. He is a seasonal professional. He is having more than 27 years of experience, especially in specializing in digital transformation. And he is the key person behind the providing digital solutions to many organizations and their business institutions. So namely TCS, Infosys, iGate, Satyam, and Tech Mahindra. All these are the organizations who have experienced these digital solutions. And he has served clients across more than 25 countries, and he is having a reputation as a strategy to co-execution champion. And he's played different roles in the industry, and especially he is popularly known for his execution as a chief digital transformation consultant and the chief digital execution champion. And he created a lot of business solutions in provided a lot of roadmaps for leveraging various digital technologies, especially artificial intelligence, machine learning, blockchain, IoT, and social mobile analytics and the cloud and others. So we are very fortunate to have him here. In spite of his busy schedule, he could join with us, and he's having having a lot of rich experience in the lean digital thinking and providing a lot of solutions to various business entities in India and abroad. So thank you, VSR Garu, for joining with us.
Thanks, sir. Thank you so much.
So really, we are fortunate to have all the three prominent persons as a panelist today to discuss on this topic, empowering the least developed countries through information and communication technologies. So now I request Ramakrishna Garu to initiate the panel discussion by providing some inputs about the especially telecommunication and information technology and the field. So over to Ramakrishna Garu.
Thank you all for joining. First thing is all of us World Telecommunication Day. This is where the entire world transformation happened because of the telecommunication technologies across the world. Maybe from last almost 80 decades, the entire transformation happened, and that too from last maybe 5-6 decades, the entire transformation, majority of us seen with our eyes, and the way the transformation happened in the developed nations, or even the countries like India and many countries, the change because of information technology, especially communication technology, is a backbone for internet. And then now the type of communication, or the almost every mobile is a smartphone, and that means a computer, and these computers are connected to the servers. And this is giving a huge impact in the entire society, because this computers is a 24/7 on, and this will be able to communicate online with anybody with very multiple dimensions, multiple directions. Because of that, there is naturally there will be a lot of advantage to the society, which we are all able to see. This is where now the challenges are what is that need to be done for a least developed countries. As our secretary is talking about, the majority of the least developed countries has a different challenges. First thing is whether these technologies are affordable for them to put into the place. That is the first aspect. Once it is affordable, again the other challenges like how much benefits they will be able to derive with this, whether they will have a literacy. Many times Mr. VSR always talks about digital literacy and all these issues, and the digital coefficients and all. These are the areas where really the bigger challenges. So my view is whenever any technology has to be useful, especially the least developed countries, the value provided by the technology should be as high as possible. Otherwise, because their affordability is not going to be that high. Whereas developed countries, that can be sometimes luxury also, because they are already having a lot of free money where they will be able to spend if that is failure or the success. So that's where the real challenges will be how to take these technologies to the least development countries. So that means what are the opportunities which we have when we are trying to work with to the least developed countries, even the average developed countries like India also. So maybe these are the main points which I think our discussion points as per the theme. Of course, we can take other things also, but the type of technological transformation happening with especially semiconductor technologies with a nano size, and the type of number of transistors available in the now with the chips with almost throwaway price of $1 and all that. These are all making a huge impact on the systems. Similarly, the GPUs and FPGAs, which is able to allow the artificial intelligence to work many dimensions, and which we are talking recently, ChatGPT, and all this is giving a lot of totally different scenarios into the field. By taking that in view, I think let us do a few things. I request the other panelists to say their views first on this topic, and after that we'll go for a discussion. I think that's all right, Mr. VSR, Mr. David?
Yeah.
I hope.
Yeah. So who is first? Sunil, you want to start or you want me to start?
I'll just take a few minutes to give my opening comments. So firstly, thank you so much, Institute of Engineers and Electronic Systems, for inviting me to this panel, and nice to see you, Ramakrishna Garu. I think we met in Vizag in the IT Summit, which happened around third week of Jan, if I'm not mistaken. I think you were in my panel that time, if I'm not mistaken, right, when we had that event. Now, this topic about how you can empower least developed countries through the power of technology and communications, or ICT, information communication and technologies. I think fundamentally what is very important is how do you give them access to information, because that is going to be very critical. And giving them access to information would mean that you need to have very high tele-density. We need connectivity in those least developed countries. Some of these countries are landlocked. Some of these countries are in coastal areas. So there might be challenges in terms of how you can connect these countries, because I think you must first get that infrastructure layer built to enable access to information. That needs to be done. And talking of, and today happens to be World Telecom Day, so again, wanted to wish all of y'all happy World Telecom Day. Now, how do you ensure that you're able to get telecom access in many of these least developed nations? It has to be a mix of communication technologies. So one technology that will definitely be able to make an impact would be satellite technology, because many of these countries are very remote locations. You may not even be able to lay a submarine cable which goes and connects to that country, or maybe even laying fiber there for whatever reason might be expensive, because cost is going to be a factor. There could be a possibility of building cellular networks, but again, there's a cost involved. But satellite connectivity in terms of reach would be a good choice. And it, of course, has to be coupled with other technologies, a mix of satellite, a mix of cellular, fiber wherever it is feasible. And if you're going to use certain high-cost telecom technologies like fiber, that obviously needs funding, which means that that funding has to come from development banks or other countries which can fund these initiatives. Development partners are needed who can fund this. So get first the communication infrastructure right. I think that is important. Once you do that, today we are living in a mobile economy, right? So we are not seeing too many people having broadband connections at home. So I think the next logical thing to do is, once you have the communication infrastructure laid, obviously at a low cost, we need to make sure that there is sufficient mobile penetration, and that would mean that you need to get the cost of mobile devices really low. So that's going to be the second important thing to do. So that, and you just see how India has transitioned, right? I mean, we today have about more than 1 billion people having a phone. 760 million today in India have internet access. So we need to get the least developed nations having low-cost handsets, which will give them access to the internet. That is going to be the next important thing to do. Because once you get that communication infrastructure laid, once you get them low-cost handsets to be able to access the internet, after that you can start doing delivery of digital services, right? Whether it is access to government e-governance, and I think many of these LDCs can definitely learn from what India has done, because I don't think any other country has built this kind of a digital public goods platform like what India has done. You name it, whether it's Aadhaar for digital identity, whether it is UPI for digital payments, whether it is GST Net for corporates to pay their taxes, a CoWIN platform which is used to administer vaccines. So all these platforms that India has built have been built for scale, right? And hence, once you have the infrastructure in place, once you have low-cost handsets which give people access to internet, then it would become imperative to make sure that the government is able to deliver services. And I think like what we did, there's so much that they can learn from India, because Jan Dhan Yojana, which is making sure that everybody's got a bank account. So today everybody's transacting digitally. That's obviously the next thing to do. Once you have access to the internet, people would want to transact. You want to increase economic activity. You want to make sure that you're able to make payments digitally. So that's the next thing to do. And then you can start rolling out services. So this is one part of it. The next important thing to do is digital literacy. I think Mr. Ramakrishna, you talked about digital literacy, because today the human capital formation, when you look at human capital index in least developed nations, LDCs, is very, very low. The gross enrollment in terms of secondary education, that is again very, very low. Their per capita per GDP is about $1,000 odd per year, which is far, far lower than other countries. So there are, if you look at health indices, whether you look at maternal mortality rate, stunting, again, that's very low. So in all these indices, health, education, they are far lower compared to what developing countries and developed nations are doing, right? So that's calls for ensuring that there is adequate programs that are there, which will ensure that people are aware of. And when I mean digital literacy, simple things like how do you use a smartphone, how do you access digital applications, how do you transact? I think very fundamental, basic such programs have to be there to make sure that everybody is empowered to use, the network to access information. And then once you start building that digital literacy, once you lay that foundation, after that you can see what you can do for the industry. Because today, if you look at industries within LDCs, you find them, most of them only exporting minerals. You don't find them exporting many manufactured goods. And that's why their percentage of contribution to the global GDP is less than 1%. And the contribution to global trade is about 1.1 or 0.2%. Very, very low, right? So first get the fundamentals right, get the infrastructure laid, digital literacy, then get government services delivered digitally. And then you can see what you can do for the industry, and then slowly ensure that this transition happens. So those are my initial comments, sir.
Thank you, Mr. David. I request Mr. ESR.
Thanks, Ramakrishna Garu. I think when we talk about underdeveloped nations or maybe least developed countries and all, I look at the development. If you take globally, we measure with GDP, right? So how the GDP can be increased is a very, very important step for the least developed countries and all. Let us take an example of network readiness index of India today is 61. That means if you have the highest network readiness index, that means the information, communication or operational technologies, affordability, reach, and the value it offers to the citizens of India or any other country or industries, that really decides for, if you look at the statistics, for every 10% increase in the broadband, there may be a possibility of 1% increase in the GDP. So today we need to really look at how to increase, if you are a least developed nation, that network readiness index, like Sunil also mentioned, Ramakrishna Garu also mentioned. That's number one. And number two, I look at how these technologies, whatever we spoke, I also extend, it's not just simply today information technology or communication technology. More and more we are looking at operational technologies. Electronics has been there for last, I think, 35 plus years, mostly into the operational technologies where you are giving life to non-living things like machines, equipment, cars and all. They're able to sense, they're able to think, they're able to communicate, they're able to predict. All these things are possible with operational technologies, which has become a norm today. In the past, it was very specialized subject. So if you talk today, the convergence of this information technology, communications and collaboration, not only communication technologies, the collaboration technologies, right? Whether it is video conferencing like Zoom, we are talking about different things. And next you have the operational technologies. These three, when you converge, the intersection of these technologies is really giving a lot of opportunities to the countries. Okay, then one important point when you talk about GDP, okay, we have to increase the consumption power of the people, then the GDP goes up. The investments have to be increased, the GDP goes up. The exports have to be higher and imports has to be less, then the GDP goes up, right? So if you look at how these technological innovations, what we are talking today, will help us to improve. So like how the consumption power goes up, okay, we need to create a lot of employment. So the lot of employment needs to be created now, not in the era of whatever the third industrial revolution or second industrial revolution, the type of the job opportunities what we created versus the job opportunities what we need to create must be entirely different. They are in this digital technology space, right? As I mentioned, like IT plus CT plus OT. Okay, that means the new roles to be created, and the journey must start from the academic institutions in such a way. The new skills, new behaviors, and new attitudes needs to be built. Some of the institutions already started, okay, artificial intelligence, machine learning, cyber security, and all, but that's not enough. there are core engineering disciplines, okay, like mechanical engineering, civil engineering, and electronics and communications. They also must be injected with this digital flavor. It's not like the mechanical engineering, civil engineering disciplines are ignored, then the country will be in great trouble. Then you cannot create the job opportunities what is required. It's not like AI, ML guys and cyber security guys can build all the required infrastructure, required products and services going forward. So the job opportunities creation starts from re-engineering and reimagining the whole education system. We need to look at, for example, in the engineering side, you need to introduce digital mechanical engineering, digital electronics and communication. Okay, that means they are also embedded. The mechanical engineering must be embedded with robotics, computer science, electronics, instrumentation. That means, let us say 70% core mechanical and 30% must be other engineering disciplines and also other technologies. Okay, that's one important aspect. So we need to re-engineer so that you becoming a global talent pool and ensuring that our talent built or any least developed country can build such type of a talent and become a global hub so that their employment opportunities will be generated, then the per capita income also can be increased. That will be contributed. Then when it comes to the investments perspective, not every country can invest the way the developed countries and other countries are investing. That's where we need the reverse innovations. For example, GE is manufacturing the medical equipment in India, but they are exporting to the other countries at the quality of what they require, right? So in India, we have to really look at how we can manufacture the same quality or a better quality products which are digitalized. That means the IoT, AI, ML integrated, but we should increase the exports. That means the research and innovation has to be increased tremendously in the least developed countries so that okay, if suppose what is the percentage they are increasing, they are having today X percentage, some amount of percentage they have to put it in such a way the digital products and the digital services can be offered not only within that country. Look at Estonia. There is a country which is very well known for digitalization, right? After all, it is a very small country, but they are very well known for the digitalization and they are really having they are calling it as a digital nation, right? So to summarize now, what I'm trying to emphasize here is, so we must leverage these technologies for creating new products and new services which can be export quality. Any least developed country has to look at. They need to re-engineer and reimagine their skills and education system so that new employment opportunities be created in that country, not just limiting to that country. They can become a pool for the other countries also, so that the per capita income goes up. When the per capita income goes up, automatically the consumption power goes up, so that the GDP also get impacted. And we also need to look at the reverse innovation in such a way that the low cost but high quality products can be exported to the other countries which are manufactured in the least developed countries, so that again the GDP will be increased. I think that's where I consider how to make a least developed country to somewhat developed country using different areas. Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. ESR, you touched a lot of points. Let us take one by one. The most least developed countries has a, in my opinion, biggest challenge is hunger. Because a lot of people don't have enough food, or second challenge may be shelter, and then health. These are the things basically, maybe it is how much is the truth and how much we know that developed countries is a bigger challenge. Other dimensions, basically people may be worried to go to that countries because of security reasons and all that. Many times, even olden days, even many times Europeans or the Americans used to think in India means there is only elephants and snakes. That type of feelings used to be there. So, first thing is, first let us talk one by one. How to empower the people. One is how to solve their ability to have a highest life expectancy. The average life expectancy of these developed countries may be, I don't know, maybe around 40 years or less, I hope. So, because whatever we are seeing here and there with the news. So, taking that into the consideration, how to help them, or how this our ICT technology will help them to use
Right.
whatever the available food, still with the available food, one can be more healthy also. It's not necessary one should have a
Right.
all costly foods and all that. That is one area. And similarly, the type of thinking, the type of understanding about how the world, creating a something like what is called opportunity or the growth mindset and better living conditions, how the other part of the world
Okay.
is sitting and
Sure.
how they are comfortable and all that aspects, how to create enthusiasm in them to improve themselves. So these are the few points along with that education and health.
Right.
So
Right.
first
Okay.
let us have a few minutes or a first round of discussion on that. Mr.
Right.
David or yes,
Sure.
whoever would like to comment on that.
Yeah.
I feel
Let me share few of my thoughts, Ramakrishna Garu. So,
Yeah.
if you look at when we say least developed country, always they are having challenges with the money. I don't think they have the money to invest whatever the great things we are talking here. First, immediately they say that I don't think we have the money to invest and all. So there, I think the technology plays a very vital role. Look at, for example, some of the countries spend 60% of their money from the pocket for healthcare. 60 to 70% of money. Government doesn't have the money, so individual has to spend such type of a thing. So we need to look at some innovative solutions like telemedicine or telehealthcare, where the patients need not travel to very expensive locations, to travel expenditure and all. For some of the, I think, illnesses and diseases, the telemedicine is becoming a very, very prominent thing. Today, even in India, for example, of course, India is, I'd say, average developed country, you said. Even some of the countries in Africa today taking the telemedical care from India. That means the doctors from India are able to diagnose by getting the inputs from there. Just they have to do the diagnosis and all, medical blood tests and pathology and all. All those reports are coming to India, for example, or some other developed country. So that is one important aspect we need to look at, why they need to travel longer and try to take the healthcare to them with this information, communication, and whatever different technologies are there. Okay, that is very, very important. The second is today the diagnosis or diagnostic tests are becoming very, very costly. Okay, if you go for any medical test, 6,000, 7,000 in India, or if you go to some other country also, some innovations are happening. I think, can you develop portable diagnostic kits, which are very affordable for small issues and healthcare related issues and all. So that means some innovations are required, need not be by that country, but the countries, developed countries or average developed countries have to ensure that the whatever the reverse innovation I am talking about. So some of the very affordable medical kit has to be created and the affordable medicines has to be sent to them and all. So all those things needs to be done. I think that is point number one. So the technologies have to be helpful to take the healthcare to the doorstep of the people is one important thing. Then the second important thing, when you talk about hunger, I think that is a very, very difficult problem. So how the technology will solve that problem is a very difficult situation to answer. But the technology can be used to ensure that even in a poor country, you have the rich and you have the people who waste a lot of food. I think that's where the circular economy is coming in, and the food which is getting wasted. There are so many websites are getting built. Whenever you assume that X quantity is built and some quantity is getting wasted, immediately that message is splashed to some of the organizations in such a way. This food is already available here. The only consumed is this much. It is available, and these people even building the supply chain in such a way, and they are distributing that food to the needy people. So that means the technology is available to track where the food is really getting wasted, rather throwing into the dustbins. So they are available, and then that is distributed to the different people. So in that way, the circular you call it as a food production, food utilization and all will be there. And the third important thing you talk about is the education. So the education also today, I think you imagine 10 years back, we never imagined that the Stanford professor or a Harvard professor can release the videos where people sitting in India, in the rural India, can also learn so many great things what those professors are doing it, right? Today you have six weeks course and 7 weeks course like Harvard and Stanford type of professors. So today the technology takes the education to the poor at a very, very, very affordable price. I think we need to really look at the digital learning technology platforms, and the least developed countries have to ensure that they cannot invest for each school. They cannot have too much of a physical infrastructure. They are very expensive, but they can build a hub and spoke model of having the digital learning platforms, and then they can invite some of the best in class teachers or best in class teachers from all over the world and ensure that the students get the required skills and all. I think these are all some examples. So in the interest of the time, I pass it to Sunil.
Yeah, thanks, VSR. So just to build on what VSR said, and especially talk about hunger, I think while yes, food wastage is a challenge today and the need to recycle and how do you recycle that food waste, how you can perhaps convert it into biofuel, that's going to be an area where tech can help. But if you just look at some of these LDCs, I think there are about 46 or 50 of them today. Many of these LDCs have agriculture as their main economy. And one of the reasons why you have hunger problem is also because your yield for the farmers is very low, right? So the productivity is very, very low. And again, if you look at agriculture, there are technologies that are available today that can ensure that the yield of farmers can go up. So smart agriculture, precision agriculture, where you can ensure that you optimize use of water, you can optimize use of fertilizer, pesticide. So all about smart farming. So whole objective is to make sure that farmers get a better bang for their buck, right? So definitely technology can play a huge part in making sure that their agriculture industry thrives. That's one. Second thing is, and this is very important, the impact of climate change, because climate change definitely has an impact on agricultural productivity. Climate change also has an impact on overall health of people. We talked about health. So again, there are technologies that are available today to address certain aspects of climate change, right? So, for example, if a country is on the coast, they might be very frequently encountering cyclonic storms, and those storms would obviously have a big impact. So using technology, you can figure out in advance using AI and machine learning when a storm might probably hit that country or a city, and then they can take corrective measures to make sure that people don't get impacted. So, and then again, coming back to farming, climate has an impact on productivity. So you know exactly in what season you have to sow, in what season you got to harvest, and so on and so forth, right? So use of energy also. How do you optimize energy usage? Because the more energy consumption, the more the CO2 emissions, and the more the CO2 emissions, it's bad for the overall environment. And today there is technology available where you can not just measure energy, whether it is whatever manufacturing which is happening there, or any industries, or even for that matter agriculture, because the moment you use a lot of water, again that generates a lot of methane and carbon dioxide. So you can use technology today to optimize the energy usage. So you first measure energy, and then the next thing is to optimize and control energy usage. The moment you control energy usage, that means lower energy costs, and lower energy spend means your CO2 emissions are also going to be lower. So tech can definitely play a part in the climate change aspect, which is going to be important. And the last point that I want to make before I hand it over to you, Ramakrishna Garu, is that any solution that you're going to build, any technology solution, has to factor in the local context of that particular country. It has to take into consideration the local context, the local languages, and also factoring the cultural values of that country. Only then that technology will be successful, because if you're not able to take into consideration the local context, languages, and all that, then acceptance of the technology might be a big challenge. So whoever is building that technology, and even if you're going to get funding to build those technologies, this has to be taken into consideration, the local context, languages, cultural values of that particular country. These are the points that I just wanted to add. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sunil. Next point, which I feel is a motivational factors of the people to change, how to bring the change into the people. Because first thing is they should have a better aspirations to have a better systems and better society. And same time, what type of things will motivate them, how to improve their society and security dimensions, governing dimensions, so that other part of the world people can start going to that area and become a comfortable, and so that their GDP and their entire these things can be investments will go into that area, exploit the technologies and the area resources, and their manpower can be built in such a way that that can be taken into the in par with the developed nations. For that, what type of suggestions, what you think is important?
Ramkrishna, so if you look at the motivation comes when we know at which level they are. I'm sure you agree with me at the Maslow's hierarchy. If the people are too much worried about roti kapda makan, and I think then their worry is just to ensure I get it. They don't even worry about security. And then next level is if they get job security or family security, health security, they worry about the social relations and status and all. Then once they achieve that, they want to look for some sort of an accomplishments, and after that they want to be self-actualization, create something new. Okay, this is what any country, I think, if you look at the percentage of the people who are in that position matters a lot. Okay, now coming to most of the countries, I think people don't have homes, for example. Some of the people are, China has done some wonders in that case. So in a single day, they constructed, I think, 10 houses. Each house is not costing more than 3 lakhs around with a 3D printing. And the lifetime could be around, let us say, 15 years to 20 years. Okay. So I think we need to look at not, I think, investing too much of a money to put a lot and all. So how you can build affordable houses with the new age technologies and provide them the shelter. I think that's where one important aspect need to be looked at. The second thing is how do we motivate them so that they become something like an industry ready or their own nation ready sort of a students, right? So I think it all depends on one way. We are saying that that country doesn't have money, but unless they invest on their educational infrastructure, whether they want to establish some sort of a great schools or colleges with a good physical infrastructure or digital infrastructure, and they can get some faculty and all, that is very expensive affair. Then my view, I think they should get the loans from whether it is World Bank or Asian Bank and all, that should be properly utilized in such a way that I think the loans are not just simply building only the common things which they have been doing for many years. They also need to look at some percentage of the investments have to be made for future, the educational infrastructure, the teachers and digital infrastructure, so that no need to have all the experts within their own country utilize this digital connectivity, get the best in class professors and teachers from other countries, and there could be online classes or hybrid classes so that the students will get the better opportunities, right? I think those two are very important aspects I would like to share.
Just to add to what VSR said in terms of motivation, I think what is also important is to tell people who are aspirational what is the art of possible, because thanks to digital technologies today, the entry barriers to start a business has come down drastically, right? One can very quickly start a business, and thanks to digital. So, for example, someone like in India today, you have so many of these artisans who make very good products, crafts, art and all that, very remote locations of India. Earlier, they didn't have a platform where they could actually sell that. And thanks to e-commerce and now thanks to ONDC, Open Network for Digital Commerce, it is opening up opportunities for people who never had access to such platforms, right? So I think one needs to figure out how do you create a lot more awareness amongst such people about the possibilities that are there, the art of possible as I talked about, and how digital technologies can really play a big part in making sure that they can start something on their own. Maybe getting jobs might be a challenge, but one can definitely look at finding the right problem to solve, and then perhaps take that entrepreneurial journey. And if he wants to take that entrepreneurial journey, there in terms of reach and access to markets, thanks to platforms today, it is very much possible for them to reach their targeted consumers. Ramakrishnan.
Yeah, one challenge basically when we are trying to talk about aspiration, unless they have a real view of what is happening in other part of the world, how the other people's life and how the things. So for example, long back when I was as a chairman for some ITI in some rural background, they don't speak because they use it to go to the field whenever there is a field work is there. Whenever there is a vacancy for their field works, they use it to come to the ITI and try to learn something. Then what we did is we send some vehicle and bring them to the Vijayawada and showed some of the factories and how the ITI people leading the better life than what it is happening there. Then there is a motivation, the aspirations really came into the things. With the new technologies like Metaware or whatever that, if you are able to take this type of technologies and show how really the present world is in a developed nations or semi-developed nations or wherever the other part of it, what they are in the past and what is the present, how the transformations happen. These type of things maybe it will help them in achieving that. As it is now, there are a lot of CSR activities is going on with a lot of big companies across the world like Microsoft, Bill Gates Foundation, or a lot of companies is doing. How much these type of funds can be diverted with a purpose to these nations so that really some transformations can be bring into that. What type of possibilities, what type of chances are there? I would like to listen from you.
Yes, sir, you have to unmute.
Yeah, my view is something like this. So whatever technological innovations happening, I think the country must have a political will, and the country must have an agenda, which is, I think, the people-centric and development-centric. Unless these two are there, in the least developed countries, if you look at, there is a more corruption, and there is a more and more the funds are going for non-required things and all. Unfortunately, you say that, okay, that is expected, then what we can do and all, right? So my first point of discussion here is, unless the political will and the country agenda is the people-centric and development-centric, then the leaders will really put all those infrastructure requirements and effective utilization of the funds and all will happen. So that is the first thing. The second thing, even the pockets of excellence they can create. Of course, even the political will and the country agenda is not there. The pockets of excellence, as I mentioned earlier, how they can connect with a very simple communication tools like a Zoom or something like a Teams and all to the whole world, right? So even the academic institutions, they can do it. And if the country's level, I think that particular focus and agenda is not there. So the awareness can be done when the school management, that means what I'm saying is everything boiled down to the leadership, the management and the commitments and what new policies they create for that country to ensure that the education policy, it is right to education, for example, it is a free education we have to provide. And we need to have a policy in such a way, if we don't have the infrastructure within, we should connect to the other countries and get such type of people through digital. Even then, we can probably give the certificate. You can just attend the classes, a professor giving the classes in India, and I am in Kenya, then I can really attend those classes and I can really pass the examination. I will consider that as an attendance, for example. That means there is a lot of policy interventions and policy modifications are required I think the technology is an enabler. I agree. The technology can bring a lot of opportunities. But what to do is all these things what I mentioned. Thank you.
I just wanted to give you an example. I mean, this is my own experience. So over the last couple of months, I've been in touch with a friend of mine who is the Chief Technology Officer of African Development Bank, and he is based out of Ivory Coast in Africa. And I've been talking to him, and he actually reached out to me saying that there are certain countries, if you just look at the LDCs, most of them are in Africa, if I'm not mistaken. A lot of them are in Africa, like Sudan and all that. So he was telling me that there are enough and more opportunity to really use technology to solve a lot of the problems in Africa. Hunger is one we talked about, health and all this stuff. And he was actually wanting to know whether we can leverage the startup ecosystem in India. So I'm actually trying to help him to connect with a few startups. I connected him with a couple of startups who have some very, very good solutions to address certain use cases, whether it's supply chain, agri, energy optimization, all that. And what he was telling me is that banks like African Development Bank are more than happy to fund that, because obviously when you want to deploy technology in LDCs, question is who's going to fund the cost of technology. And African Development Bank are more than happy to fund. They have enough and more money to really fund such initiatives. We'll have to see how we can expand the canvas to include other banks. So I don't know, World Bank and similar development banks. What is their appetite to invest in LDCs, especially when you talk about technology transfer? So that is something that we need to figure out. But startup ecosystem in India, there might be other, like Israel is also very strong in technology. I don't know whether LDCs can leverage some of the technologies from the startups in Israel. But for the startups, it's good because they get an access to opportunities in countries where they don't have a presence, especially in LDCs. And they get anyway paid by the banks who are going to fund this. And you're also solving some of the problems of the LDCs. So, it's heartening to know that there are development banks who are realizing the potential of digital and are willing to work with these great startups that we have.
I think you brought a very important point, Mr. Sunil, especially how to work with the African countries, especially the technologies. One of the biggest challenges from the developed nations, majority of the developed nations, whether it is in Europe, whether it is America, many of these developed nations, including Japan and China and all that, they are all in the cold countries. Majority of the products which they develop, they will be designed to work up to maximum of say 40 degrees centigrade or less than that. Even many of the products which comes from the other part of the world to the India, we need to put air condition to make it work, especially in the summers, because the surface temperatures many times, though we talk 47 degrees and all, the reality the surface temperatures reaches as high as 60-65 degrees centigrade also. So that is a very good scenario because India is a hot country. Whatever the products which we can build for the work in India can be easily migratable to the this type of African countries, because most of the African countries temperatures also, I hope they are all hot countries. That is one of the real opportunities. Only thing is how to build these technologies and what type of productions or what type of products which we have to be going to be the demand in that areas. That type of collaboration, I hope, will be much useful to improve that. Mr. ESR, what you would like to? Okay,
I think, see, Ramakrishna Garu, one important point you mentioned, I think that's where I said the reverse innovation. So what we manufacture here becomes products for the other countries also. But we also need to look at how we can reduce the dependency on other countries, especially on the supply chain. Look at, for example, today, if China basically has some problem, the whole world is getting a problem. Okay. So under Atmanirbhar Bharat also, I think the Honorable Prime Minister also said, the supply chain, I think how you bring that resilience and the flexibility and also speed, whether it is transportation systems and what are the different ways, logistics management, how the technologies can be best utilized to ensure the cost of supply chain can be reduced, how we can bring a new way of, I think, doing that supply chain and all. Unless, today the cost of supply chain is too high in India. Okay, so that's, I think, one important aspect needs to be looked at. So what summary I'm trying to tell here is, can I reduce the cost of production? Can I reduce the cost of design using my technologies? Okay, initial investment might be too much higher, but can I use digital twins to ensure that my designs are iterated more and more times, rather going with proof of prototypes with the physical infrastructure and all? Finally, I say that with the digital twin, I am able to come up with the best design, which is less expensive than doing the prototypes physically. So I think we need to look at a lot of innovations to reduce the cost of designs, to reduce the cost of the production, and reduce the cost of the supply chain. Technologies will really play a very important role in this. And any technology innovations require, again, Ramakrishna, I said, the policy interventions. I think we have a lot of problems in the low developed countries, including in India, the delays in releasing the policies at the pace of technology innovations. Any technology innovation will become, I think, day-to-day initiative only when the policies are introduced. So I think these are all important aspects needs to be considered. It's not just getting the technologies, right? So it's also ensure the solutions are built at an affordable price, they are delivered at an affordable price, the supporting policies are implemented. All those things, if we don't go together, then certainly I think the low developed countries can really go to the next level.
Mr. Sunil, would you like to comment?
I fully allude to what VSR mentioned. Absolutely. So supply chain logistics is a big challenge. Our logistics cost as a percentage of our GDP is 14-15%, which is very, very high. And because of that, it impacts India's competitiveness as a manufacturing hub. The PLI scheme, which VSR talked about, the whole objective is to, and it came up with 14 different sectors, automotive, telecom, and so on, pharma and all that, because we are still dependent on China for APIs. So we need to build that capability locally in India. If we really have to thrive as a manufacturing hub, we definitely need to get the cost of logistics done low. I think there are enough policies that are there in place. As VSR said, policies have to keep in pace with technology change. And like last year, government launched the Gati Shakti scheme, the National Logistics Policy. In the World Bank released Logistics Performance Index. It's called Logistics Performance Index, which will rank countries based on how they are doing in the logistics front. How much delays are there in ports? How much of technology is used in our fleet management? How much of digitization we have done, and so on. There are different parameters based on which they rank. India is ranked number 38 in that list. So we have a long way to go. I just released about a month back, 38 in that list of 44 countries, sorry, in the 100 odd countries. So we need to definitely move up the ranks. And if we're able to get our logistics costs down, supply chain costs come down, then whatever learnings that we have built for India, we can take the same learnings for other least developed nations and implement it at a very low cost. And that will definitely improve their competitiveness as well, Ramakrishna.
Yeah, of course, I little differ with your views on the logistic cost, because I am running a hardware industry and developing products. But really the logistic cost in India is not, that means for hardware industry, it's not that much, percentage wise, it's not that much high. The biggest challenges which we have as a hardware industry is a competent manpower. We don't have any competent manpower available in India, right from polytechnics or even engineering or even including higher educational systems like IITs. Majority of the syllabus are maybe outdated or maybe 10-20 years back, things with still fundamentals of that. Whatever the digital technologies which we are talking about, that that is not there in their curriculum. First thing is, suppose if you take last year, ARM processors were deployed across the world, 28 billion, which is almost 4 times the world population. But unfortunately, that was not studied in any of the institutions, how really the ARM processor works, because the entire the entire world is using almost 70 to 80% of the CPUs or the ARM processors. Still, if it is not there in the syllabi and how to build solutions, that means again industry has to build the talent for them, again building few industries, developing the talent. Again, there is a lot of shortage of the talent in that area. This is I feel whenever we discuss in our meetings with the hardware development industries, the biggest challenge is manpower. Maybe IT industry has a higher manpower, but because everybody wants to be software engineer in India, even of course there are also talent challenges are there, but the fundamental challenge what we face in especially hardware industries, that means electronic industries, fundamentally the skill and the capabilities and the syllabi and the even design capabilities, even testing capabilities. We don't have a test labs in the country. If we have to get it tested, critical tests, we have to send it to the other part of the world. And even the test equipment has to be imported from the other part of the thing. Even still in electronics, majority of the critical chips is not from China. They are all from Taiwan or in other part of the world. That's where that is not a very critical challenge. Of course, some of the low cost components we may get it from China, but still that capabilities can be built with PLI schemes and all that in India. Very quickly we can ramp up. The biggest challenge is the capabilities. That's my feel.
So I agree with you. Yeah, see, also an average cost is 14% is what reports say, but it differs from industry to industry. Maybe there are certain industries where the logistics cost is much lower. There might be industries which might be higher. But also one fundamental issue is that unorganized nature of the fleet management industry in India, because many of the fleet owners have less than 10 vehicles. They don't have visibility of their fleet. A lot of that is still on paper, start time, end time of a trip. So those are issues. Of course, infrastructure is getting built, a lot of good highways being laid, but we need to digitize the fleet management. I think that will also play a big part in making sure that we improve supply chain. Sorry, Vesar, go ahead.
Yeah, I think the supply chain, so in general, I think it is expensive affair that depends on whether you are doing it through sea or air or rail or whatever, road and all. So we also need to, of course, last 5-6 years, probably we might have improved or 10 years, maybe the infrastructure and all. It's a long way to go. How you modernize your seaports, how you modernize your railway infrastructure management and all. So even on the roads, can I say that this is the optimal route where I can reduce the cost of fuel? Okay, so what is the best, or it is something like the roads are not good, the maintenance cost is going up. Supply chain is not just simply taking the goods, right? There are so many hidden costs are there in India. So we have to really look at how they can be improved with the digital and physical infrastructure. The next, again, I would like to reiterate, the people like us might talk so many things in terms of improving the capabilities and all, unless there is a political will, unless there is a lot of policy interventions, and maybe the best, it's not just only the, I say that it's not just only the bureaucrats and all. There should be a consortium of private and public leaders, not only just the private-public partnerships. Nandan Nilekani did something, for example. So we need to find such type of maybe different levels of top leaders in the country, bringing them together, start the transformation programs, invest, and see the results and all. So some innovations are required. We cannot live with the colonial policies, which is done by British. Still, we are living 1857 policies and all. I think there is a re-engineering and re-imagination is required to align with this fourth industrial revolution. Already it is over. Some countries are saying we are now in the fifth industrial revolution. By probably 2030, 37 or 40, we might say sixth industrial revolution. Our policies are still in the second industrial revolution. So I think the technology innovations are very, very fast. I think the governments have to be agile and resilient.
Yes, sir, you talked about policies. So the IT Act today, which we have, is dated 2000. We still don't have a new IT Act factoring all the changes that have happened in the technology space, and that's still work in progress. And we are still waiting for that act to come.
Where is 2000? Where is 2023?
23, exactly.
Right. And today, for example, I was working on blockchain smart contracts. So smart contracts are considered as something like, can you make it a blockchain smart contract legally binding? Can the courts accept it? If you and me get into a contract through a blockchain smart contracts, courts don't accept it. But how you can encourage that technology then? I mean, so you have to really look at so many things, reimagination, re-engineering of the things to be done. One way we are saying technological innovations, other way our policies are 1857 and 2000. I don't think any I think developed countries can really move faster at the pace of technologies. We are already in 5th industrial revolution, please.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So as you were mentioning, policies are very important. Anyway, almost all governments are now keen towards SDGs. So all policies making should be in line with fulfilling the SDGs. So anyway, in our discussions, really, we covered majority of the sustainable development goals. So really, which are being expected by United Nations. So maybe starting from no hunger and no poverty, health and well-being, and circular economy and education, almost equality and development of GDP, economic growth. Majority of the sustainable development goals have been invariably covered during our discussion, which is really a fruitful discussion. So before concluding, if any queries are there, I would like to take with the permission of panelists. So if any participants, if you are having any queries, 1 or 2 queries we can take up, and then we can go ahead. Really all the discussion started with challenges of least developed countries, and it has dwelled into all the possibilities of solutions also. Really, it is giving a lot of scope for discussion and a lot of scope for understanding of all the technologies and engineers who are working in various fields of engineering. It has covered a lot of things. And so one query is here. So from Ramakrishna Reddy, drone technology is very good, but not cost effective. Now cost effective technology is need of the hour. What is your comments on it? Drone technology is...
Yeah. So, one is technology for farmers and even drones. So I think what is important, the farmers obviously cannot fund that cost on their own. So it will call for maybe corporates, maybe partnership with government to give some subsidy to fund that cost. A little bit of it, of course, has to come from the farmer, but a lot of the subsidy has to come from government and maybe even private partnerships. Like in India, I know that Mahindra Group work a lot with the farmers. Some of these farmers wants to use smart technology, and Mahindra has tried to build an ecosystem where they can get the funding done so that they can actually help these farmers to be a lot more productive.
Actually, I think we need to look at as a service model is my view, because software also become very costly in the past when we want to invest on the capital expenditure, right? Perpetual licenses and all. Today we are renting the software. So I think we need to look at how multiple farmers can use, whether the drones or other. If you look at in the Western countries, the precision agriculture, a lot of equipment were there, but they can be rented, and a group of the farmers can be used. The cost needs to be apportioned. One person cannot really afford that. So I think we need to look at most, even medical devices. Medtronic is now offering, instead of you purchasing it, they are offering it as a service. I can use it for some limited period of time as a hospital. I will pay the money. I don't need to really procure it for 70 crore or 80 crores or type of a thing, right? So I think we need to bring that as a service model. When I don't think we can reduce the cost of these technologies immediately. They will take some more time. Till that time, probably we need to look at, I think, as a service model, and a group of communities needs to be formed, and then they need to apportion the cost. It's like a small and mid-sized companies, how the government is forming clusters today. Okay, I think that might help.
Yeah, good point actually, yes, sir, because in India, we had a few years back, Mahindra Group, if I recollect, which launched a platform called Tringo, which is tractor as a service, where the small farmers cannot afford a tractor.
Correct.
And you have a situation where a rich farmer who has a tractor who's not using it. So when these rich farmers have tractors and they're not used, they put it on the platform. It's called Uberization of
It is OYO.
tractors.
It is OYO
So,
or
yeah.
your
Yeah.
Airbnb.
Yeah, so they go to the platform. If they find that the tractor is available, they use it, pay only
Correct.
for that usage, and then it's back again
Right.
on the platform. So something like that, as you
Right.
said, the good model. And the same thing can be extended to drones
Right.
also, because nobody can afford drones. So if drones can be offered as a service, you only pay per usage.
It's like a shared
that would be a good
economy.
model.
I think we
Yeah.
need to look for some innovations
Okay.
on that because cost of, always, I think Ramakrishna said, you also said, right, I don't think we can reduce the cost of technologies that easy today. The initial investments will be too high.
Yeah.
Not everyone, every country cannot afford to have that. So I think some innovations are required with the different models of services to reduce the
Yeah.
cost and all.
Of course, today the 3D printing is changed to the new dimensions, where small production can be done with a 3D printing, where the total cost of production for a small quantity is also drastically reducing. And with a
Correct.
carbon filament and all that, and even the strength is better than even iron, and the very lightweight materials also now is available in the world. These type of technologies, when we started adapting to the drones, automatically the cost of production of the drones will be much less, and there is a lot of possibilities to reduce the cost in that area,
Correct.
because a lot of
But it
innovation.
may
can
take
be
time,
bring into the-
Ramakrishna. It may
Yeah.
take 10 to 15 years maybe. Yeah.
No. 3D printing is now available
Not
today.
3D printing. I'm talking about the reduction of the price in the drones and all, the components and all.
No, that is all
So
possible.
that might take some more time.
No,
Yeah.
if there's some startups take up it, automatically it will come down, because now the
Right.
CPUs has power, and even the small drones can be made very easily with a very lightweight drones. And there is a lot of possibilities. Again, what type of actions we want to take it on the field, that is what we have to see. Whether we want to
Correct.
observe certain things, or whether we want to throw the pesticides, or what are that activities which we want to do it on agriculture. That's only the challenge. Otherwise, the drones now is going to come much cheaper compared to what they are used to be fast. That is really coming out very handy.
I think one important point you raised, I think the material science is becoming a very important topic. I think the material science, even 3D printing, I think today it may not support all the type of the materials. So I think that itself is a great innovation. Other countries are investing on how to find the new materials which are affordable and very flexible to make the different components.
Now at least there are 20-30 types of materials available with the 3D printers in India.
Right.
Even recently, when I am trying to procure some 3D printers for our small production, we did lot of study and all that. Even that is not very costly as the machines or the materials.
Yeah.
End of the day, the total production cost is going to be much less than making a mold and making it. And even the time taken to do it also going to be couple of less than a week we can make some model, and if you have design ready, or otherwise we only the design is a challenge. Otherwise the things can be done much faster.
Right.
Thank you, sir. Really, we had a great time. Maybe a final conclusion as a major challenge of this least developed countries versus developed countries. So there is a digital divide is there. Maybe final one sentence or two sentence answers from panelists to what best we can do to reduce this digital divide. And then we'll conclude the discussion.
Hello, Devakumar garu, can I ask question?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Hello?
Please, sir.
So my question to all, what is the message you are going to give to the parents and students through this forum? Because VSR garu rightly mentioned about the importance of core, but nobody is interested. Even industries are not favor of that. Even governments are not in favor of that. So what about the fate of manufacturing in the coming years? So that is my question. What is the message you are going to give to the students and parents?
Yeah, over to panelists. Any,
So,
I am Dr. Rajendra Babu, professor and the member of Institution of Engineers.
yeah.
I think this is the topic. I was working in Institution of Engineering and Technology (IET). So
Yeah,
we were basically positioning, of course, whether it will happen or not, Dr. Ravindra Babu, we need to see. We are saying that don't kill this, don't kill
core.
engineering disciplines like
Core disciplines.
mechanical and all. Then have the digital mechanical engineering where Ramakrishna Garu clearly mentioned that we should re-engineer the complete syllabus. We cannot live with the internal combustion engines now in the electrical vehicle era or hydrogen fuel era and all. Okay. So I think, but who will take that initiative and all is the biggest question. So we need to look at the digital mechanical engineering, digital civil engineering, even that will attract a lot of people because there's a lot of software, a lot of computers, a lot of things involved in that particular mechanical engineering also. Today, mechanical engineering is not what in the past, what we are talking about. So this must be taken very seriously. Digital mechanical engineering, digital civil engineering. This I spoke probably a decade back at JNTU when they invited, but unfortunately still we are in that state. Most of the people are going for AML or cyber security or IoT. Those things doesn't give the foundational blocks for the conventional engineering, civil, mechanical, electronics and all. If they don't have, I think after 15-20 years, India will lose the edge. Like how
No,
IT
sir,
has killed.
sir. No, sir, transform engineering is there. It's a special branch is going to introduce through AICT. AICT is thinking about transform engineering. Combination of all engineerings is called transform engineering. So actually, we are talking about artificial intelligence and machine learning. So they are not actually mechanical people is best suited for that. But unfortunately, it is lead to computer science. So it is bad luck to our core branches like mechanical, civil, electrical.
That's the point.
Yes,
I was
sir.
telling.
Experts are not thinking about what is machine learning. Who knows machine learning? Mechanical people will know very well about how the machines will work. That has to be transformed into software technology. So our people are introduced. That is who are selecting. Only computer science people are selecting. So that's why transform engineering is a new branch. It covers all technologies, civil, electrical, mechanical, all these things will cover. It will near future, the branch will be emerged. So this is my information from AIC.
That's where I'm saying when I say digital mechanical engineering, I think you remember I said the 70% could be mechanical engineering, but the remaining 2 should be computer science, your software engineering, instrumentation, electrical, electronics. If all these disciplines are not known by a mechanical engineer, in addition to that, the mechanical engineer also should understand what is industrial IoT or what is 3D printing, what is digital twin, what is artificial intelligence, what is machine learning. If they don't understand that, they can never become a digital mechanical engineer. So that's the point I'm emphasizing. You call it as a transformation engineering and all, but that cannot be again separate topic. It should be a mechanical engineer must become a digital mechanical engineer with the convergence of multiple technologies, multiple engineering disciplines. A digital civil engineer must have all those again. They have to know the core, they have to know the other engineering disciplines, they have to know the other technological disciplines. When you bring all these things together, in addition to this, Ramakrishna Garu's favorite subject, the engineers have to be the creators. If they don't know what is the thinking, whether it is a design thinking, whether it is a digital thinking and all, I think unfortunately we are not teaching the engineers to think different and come up with innovations. So that also needs to be part and parcel of the engineering today. In fact, I have written a paper on that. I can share with Ramakrishna Garu. He can share with you, sir. That's one point. The last point I would like to share, I think the digital divide. That means I think that is going to become, it's like going to create a lot of, I think unrest in the society going forward. The haves and have-nots will become now who has the excellent internet connectivity, who has the excellent computing power, who has the excellent storage capacity. It's not just electricity, water today. The basic utilities are not just electricity and water. Your internet is a basic utility. Your computing power must be there for every house. And the storage of data, that facility should be there to the every house. So unless the governments have to look at to make sure that these utilities are offered to the people at an affordable price, I think the digital divide will go on increase and increase. The technologists like us or professionals like us only can give suggestions. But as I conclude, a country will be led by the strong leadership with a great political will and policy transformations. Thank you so much.
I just want to add one point, so you talked about digital mechanical engineering or any engineering discipline that you look at. So while the students acquire skills, what is very, very important is to complement that with other very important soft skills, so the ability to collaborate, the ability to create, creativity is going to be very important, because those are the skills that will stand out today, because you have enough and more of technology available. How are you going to use the technology to make yourself a lot more productive? And that's where your soft skills will come in handy. Your critical thinking, analytical thinking. VSR talked about design thinking, ability to communicate. You might have very great ideas, but inability to communicate that is going to be a challenge, right? So I think it has to be supplemented with all these, trying to acquire all these soft skills, and that is obviously going to take some time.
But
it comes with experience. Yeah.
If we continue with our current education system, Sunil and Ramakrishna Garu, probably in the next 15-20 years, I think we will find great robots or chatbots will do the work, what we are doing, right? So unfortunately, I'm sure you know that the education system is mainly focusing on remembering and understanding the subject. But we are very poor at application. I'm not talking about IITs and premium colleges. We don't have great centers of excellence or labs where people can apply. Ramakrishna Garu is struggling to build 6 months to 1 year to make his team ready. So there is no application of the knowledge what is taught in the student's education. Applying is not there. Analysis is poor. When you apply only, I can get the data and analyze. And there is no evaluation and the judgment or decision-making power is not there. So I think this is simply, I'm taking a Bloom taxonomy, where it starts with remembering, understanding, applying, analyzing, evaluating. Whatever you talk about, the creativity and innovation comes only when I cross these phases. But unfortunately, all those things we learn only when we join the company, not in the education system. Education system focused on remembering, understanding. Applying is missing, analysis is missing, evaluating is missing, creativity and innovation is missing. If we don't improve those creativity, evaluation and analysis, then robots, chatbots will take over the whole jobs. And people are very smiling and cynical. I'm sure ChatGPT is killing so many jobs in the content creation and creativity industry. Almost a lot of reports are coming in today.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically, as you are all asking, one is that today mechanical engineering, already the IC engines is flattened. That means in coming years, the production of IC engines is going to come down and the electric vehicles or some other vehicles is going to take off. Are we changing a syllabus towards the mechanical engineering or some of the syllabus, which will be able to build electrical vehicles? That's one dimension.
Right.
Similarly, the production engineering, where you have a robotic arms and the entire automation and all that, whether we have a syllabus which will be able to train everybody towards that automation side, or otherwise the 3D printing and all this is a totally new dimensional syllabi, which any one of you training, even including electronics. Today, what is the syllabi is totally for the picture tube technology, not for the digital TVs, which we are all using it. That is a unfortunate where the academic institutions quickly has to change the revamp entire syllabus and bring the new syllabus. I am happy to say that Andhra Pradesh Technical Education Department, especially the diploma stream, they revamped entire syllabus and brought the entire new subjects, whatever is needed for today. And that syllabus may be going to change this thing. If that is going to the syllabus, the BTech syllabus is not going to be changed with that line. The diploma people will be having a higher hand than the BTech candidates. They will be ready with a more advanced technology than the BTech students. That's where the academic institutions has to work very closely with the industry and build the real technologies or syllabi which is needed. End of the day, in my opinion, one should have a capabilities. The capabilities is nothing but a mindset plus practice into technology, a present technology. We should be able to learn for the future, not for the past. The past success doesn't mean is a future success. When you want to train our people and build our organizations, we should build it for the future, not for the past. Unfortunately, we are live in a past because past success we think is going to be the future success, but reality, the world is changing much rapidly. The like ChatGPT or AI type technologies is emerging and implementing in a much rapid than even industry people like us who are exposing to the new industries. Even we are not able to believe this is going to happening in this speed. That is a really challenging time. I feel the entire education system, parents, students, everyone, including industry, has to see how we can change. Because of ChatGPT, the trust is coming into the picture. Today, if I want to buy something, if I ask ChatGPT, it is not going to say cheat me. It is going to be almost truth. Which is the best company, which is the best product, what is its characteristics. Majority of them is a highly trusted data is coming. Because of that, now the companies which is going to do with a hype with a advertisement and all will have a tough time. So end of the day, the consumer will have a more information which is more relevant. He will be able to take a right decisions. That is what we have to start applying our minds. Use the AI as our companion so that we'll be able to improve our capabilities and better living conditions. Thank you. I hand over to our secretary.
I have to leave now because I have a hard stop at 7:30. I'm sorry, I have to leave because I have
Yes. So that's why we are also in a hurry, sir. Thank you so much for joining. Especially all the three panelists have touched all the wide variety of topics, starting from the identifying the challenges to giving the solutions, touching all the wide variety of areas. Really, whole discussion was quite educative. And even though I'm an academician and engineer and management guy, I could see a lot of learning from this panel discussion. So with the permission of all the panelists, we'd like to host this YouTube video in Institution of Engineers site so that there will be further discussions may happen. And I request consent of the other panelists to host this video for the benefit of many of the budding engineers and working engineers. I thank our chairman CV Sriram Garu for putting all efforts in arranging this. And of course, because of his personal busy schedule, he could not join today. But all our state committee members are already joined in a Zoom conference. I'm thankful to all the state committee members. And especially I must thank our Ramakrishna sir, who has hosted this event and made all the facilities available for our institution. And I thank VSR Garu and Sunil David Garu for sparing your valuable time and touching all important points. And if any queries are there from our institution, we'll communicate to you to have your answers down the line. Thank you for giving the opportunity. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.